to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. The Honourable Shane Jones.
Te tuatahi tēnā koe te kaihautu o te whare huri no ki tō tātou whare. Tātou ngā kaitoranga pū e noho tonu nei kia tutuki pai a tātou ngā mahi whakarite hei whai mā tātou i tēnei rangi. O tira me huri atu ki ngā upoko, ki ngā rangatira, ki ngā whaia, kia koutou katoa ko tatu mai ki te upoko o te ika. Te urunga o te rā. Mai pōtikirua ki te toka taiau, huri noa ki te tihi o hikurangi maunga, mā turuturu tonu, rere atu ki te moana nui a kiwa, ra roto i te awa waiapu. Ko koutou ngā kaitiaki, ko koutou ngā kaipupuru o te Māori, kei tēnā rohe, ko tā mātou he whakatau, he mihi atu kia koutou i tēnei rangi. Hei aha māku te whakahuahua atu i ngā ingoa o tira tautoko i te āhuatanga o te reo whakamihimihi i puta i tō tātou minita mō o koutou mātua rātou kua paupau ki te matemate. Tā te mea hautatahi i whakatupungi ai i roto i te kāinga o taku tūpuna whaia, māku anō mō ngā wāhene whakahui te ingoa maraia te kawa. He hoa tino tata ki tēnā tūpuna oku, me te mahara te wai tatu ai mātou ki wainga tonu i a koutou mihi ana tērā hautupua o roto i te tairāpiti ki a mātou ka hinga atu i roto i tana mihi a tāhoai tamepo. Nā reira rātou ki a rātou, tātou ki a tātou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. As I've said in Māori, sir, we acknowledge the presence today of one of the great tribes of Te Ao Māori. And I should say that because they have a great man in this house in the form of Parekura Horomia. And they're obviously a very sensible tribe because they sent him back here. But, sir, I want to acknowledge on both sides, as we've said earlier today, the ministers of the Crown, and whether they be in the time of Parekura Horomia, Dr. Michael Cullen, even stretching further back to Porou in the days of endeavouring to best Hikurangi Mountain back in the people of Te Tairāwhiti Ngati Porou, they've all made their contribution. And indeed, sir, there's been a recent innovation to expedite the settlement of claims. They're called Crown negotiators. And we have one, and I think in the midst, Mr. Paul Swain, who after leaving the Labour Party found something possibly more valuable to do. Represent the Crown in the settlement of historic grievances, i.e. Ngati Porou, but we acknowledge his presence. So we also have in the audience some survivors of Te Rua Tekau Māwaru, some survivors of the Māori Battalion, and we also have a host of other soldiers who have been, sir, down in the dugouts, and from time to time people have tried to dispatch them to the latrines. And I think of here Api Mahuika, tēnā koe Api. Your task must not go unmentioned, and your record must not go unmentioned as we give our speeches. Unfortunately for those of you who reach those heady heights in our iwi affairs, your good works do not go unpunished, but we acknowledge your presence here today. Sir, Ngati Porou produced what a number of us Māori members, or who a number of us Māori members regard as the most peerless of all Māori parliamentarians throughout Paranangata. And it was him, sir, during the 1937 debate, if memory serves me correctly, over the ownership of petroleum, who advocated very strenuously that there was a Māori interest in that resource. And I rather suspect, sir, as the iwi go forward and turn this settlement into an enduring legacy, that those are the kinds of challenges that the stewards of this settlement will face. How to strike a balance between the opportunity of economic significance, maintain cultural heritage, and also safeguard environmental standards. But the reality is that as a consequence of the passage of this law, this House, both sides, working with the Crown, are watching a capital transfer take place, whether it be in the form of commercial redress, cultural sites, reserves, or indeed the actual recognition of interests in the takutai moana. We are seeing something historic today. And there's not a great deal so that we can add more than the fact that it's our duty as Māori parliamentarians to bear witness and testimony to this, so that when others follow on behind us, they can be reminded each generation of iwi leader, each generation of Crown Minister, each generation of Māori parliamentarian have to make their contribution. And so those contributions are defined by the challenges of the time. And the challenges of the time for this settlement process has been it's not possible for current generations of taxpayers in our system, either of society or politics, to meet the full cost and weight of colonialism that fell upon this particular iwi. And sir, dare I say it, that this is an iwi that has given long and valuable service to their fellow New Zealanders, whether it's the Māori Pioneer Battalion, whether it's the Hoko Whitu Atu, the famous 28th Battalion, or their contributions throughout the other theatres of war around the world. And indeed, I bump into a number of them on a regular basis at the Manurewa RSA. I shall be encouraging them to go home and get their fair share of the spoils. So this is a day where we should have an element, we should have an element of sadness for those who've gone on, but an element that defines our Māori personality has been appropriately light-hearted. Because what the task ahead represents for those of us who have a life inside Māori politics, whether it's in Parliament or out, is that the real challenge lies in ensuring that not so much the assets are managed well, but they're grown. And to seize growth opportunities always is going to involve haggling, compromise, and a clear plan that enables people to dedicate their capital, but also find a balance to protect heritage. Because nowhere will we find finer carved meeting houses, whare moko, than on the Tairāwhiti. Nowhere will we find land that stretches from the mountain right down to the Takutai Moana than the Tairāwhiti. And so nowhere will we find people who are very proud of their Ngati Porou ancestry and never shirk from reminding you of how proud they are. So, ka nui e nei kōrero ki tēnei reo Pākehā, me mihi atau kia tātou I roto I tō tātou whare, kia kaha, kia ua, kia manawa nui, koutou I whakawera, kia tutuki pai ai, ngā wahanga I whiwhi ai koutou, ngā mihi. Ngā wahanga ho rakau I whakaingia, me whakahe atu I a Robert Waha McLeod, I te kore ngone puti tēnei rā. So they have had a number of fine negotiators, and one that I should mention is Robert McLeod, who I'm told unfortunately couldn't make it, Whaimutu Jews, working with Api Mahuika and all their supporters, because it hasn't been easy. So, kia taunga manakitanga kia koutou, e oku huanga tuakana teino I roto I te Tairāwhiti, nā I roto I te pono o te ngākau, te manawa roa, te whakawera ka tutuki te roango ake o ngā moiboia, me ngā tumarako ko tā mātou, he tautoko I a koutou tēnā tātou, kia ora tātou katoa.
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Chris Finlayson.
Mr. Speaker, I too stand to acknowledge the